Welcome to Talk to Brazil with Tom Reaoch, the business connector to business in Brazil. Welcome to Talk to Brazil, the business connection, the world's first English language internet radio program about business in Brazil, now in podcast format. I'm Tom Reaoch, an American in Brazil for many years and known as the King of Networking and speaker and author on networking. A professional business network is made up of people we meet every day. Our network grows and is sustained by maintaining contact with those connections. Podcasting is a modern form of networking. I'm talking from the city of Campinas, the state of São Paulo, Brazil. So when you talk to Tom, you talk to Brazil and the world. Today's guest is Daniel Bland. He's the editor and advisory board member of Fleet LatAm, inspiring fleet and mobility managers in Latin America. Daniel's an American who grew up in Hawaii, and he talks with us today from São Paulo, Brazil, where he now lives since 2004. I also interviewed Daniel here on Talk to Brazil in April 2019, and as promised, he's back today to share and update his view on fleet mobility in Brazil. So with that, Daniel, hello and welcome to Talk to Brazil.
Hello, Tom. Good to be back. How are you?
I'm fine. It's always good to talk to you. And I've been following closely your very numerous posts that you place on LinkedIn. And a couple weeks ago, this was a week ago, you posted on the trade show about electric vehicles that was held in São Paulo, right? And when we talked in April, you mentioned the onslaught and the future launching, which has now happened, of the different electrical and hybrid vehicles. So help us understand what was shown at that salon.
Oh, well, they showed some of the electric vehicles that are being sold in Brazil, and also hybrid vehicles. In terms of hybrid, well, I think we got to think that hybrids are coming first, and then the electrics, not far behind. Mm-hmm. And the hybrids that they showed there, where they had two Chinese companies. One was Jack, right, and the other one was Chery. Actually, Chery has partnered up with Caoa. Because Caoa is the Brazilian vehicle distributor, so it's called Caoa Chery. And then they had the Renault Zoe over there as far as the electrics, and then they had hybrids. Hybrids there were the one that seemed they showed a lot was Toyota, and then their luxury brand Lexus. So they had a few models there, and I think that was about it. But there are other hybrids and electrics coming to Brazil, and most here in São Paulo.
These models that you mentioned, these are launching. These are being sold today or.
Yeah, so they're offering in the market now. So okay. The best price one as far as the electric was the Jack. So the Jack IEV 20, and then they have the Jack IEV 40.
Right.
So the prices, I mean, compared to what we've been seeing lately, it's in the range starting around 120,000 reais and. Yeah, but Jack, the Chinese brands, they still have to the image, I guess, maybe is not as strong as some of the other companies. So maybe in the years to come, they'll start building up a better image. But they got a pretty reasonable price, and the car looked pretty nice, and has a range of 400 kilometers. So the ranges
that's a good range.
Yeah, the ranges are improving. It had the higher range of them. So the ranges are between 300 and 400 kilometers. And as we spoke before, that this is one of the concerns, I guess, of electric vehicles is how far can you drive it. Right. But it's improving.
Well, that's a concern anywhere in the world, right? I mean, that's really where the rubber meets the road is how far can you get with a battery charge.
Yeah, so do you know how far it is from São Paulo to Rio?
400 and so. Campinas were like a little over 400 kilometers. So.
Okay, so we're talking like you can barely reach Rio if you travel south, because it's a very highly commuted route, São Paulo to Rio. Yeah, so then the other ones there was the Renault Zoe, and then which is quite popular in Europe, and then the Cherry Arizo 5E. So they're all in the range. They're a little bit more than the Jack one, maybe in the range of 150,000 or a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And but so those are the ones that were there. But there are other electric vehicles that weren't there, like the Chevrolet Bolt,
right,
and the Nissan Leaf. So maybe there are others that are more expensive. I don't want to talk about that now.
But the Nissan Leaf, is that available in Brazil? It might not have been at the show, but is it available for purchase?
The Nissan Leaf, I believe it is. From what the Leaf and the Chevrolet Bolt, but I believe the Bolt's coming out in the last quarter of this year.
This year,
I don't know exactly when they're available in the showrooms, but the Nissan Leaf it's getting a little bit closer to 200,000. But it's a nice car. It's the best-selling electric vehicle in the world, well, at least last year, and their ranges are pretty close to 400. I think it's a little bit less than 400 kilometers.
Now, talking about these cars and talking about your focus on fleets and fleet management, is there interest from the fleets in these vehicles? Do you see that coming? Or is it still
I think they're more
novelty?
looking toward hybrids because the hybrids, they don't really have a range problem because they got a regular combustion engine motor and the electric motor. So, because some fleet managers that I see, they're working in companies, they got people that drive more than 300 or 400 kilometers. If they work in rural areas, they're going to farms.
Right.
So that I think that we need to keep an eye on the hybrids. So the best selling hybrid in the world is the Toyota Prius. So that's here in Brazil.
That's been around. I see those.
Yeah,
on
you've
the
seen
roads,
it.
and that's
probably seen them on the roads,
and you see them. So. But now I think what the novelty was the Corolla being shown.
Yeah, I took a picture of the Corolla and I had a lot of likes on that on LinkedIn because maybe a lot of them were Toyota workers, but a lot of people who didn't work there liked it too because it's I don't know, I think it's a nice looking car.
It is,
and the Corolla is very popular in Brazil. People like the Corolla, and I think so that was I think that was launched. It was made available like 2 weeks before I saw it or something like that. So I think it's a little bit more expensive than the Prius.
Mm-hmm. But it's also larger, right?
140,000.
That's almost what in Brazil would be considered a full-size car.
Yeah. So people who
because I've heard
who don't know about
some
Brazil,
companies here in the region of Campinas, what I've heard, that in terms of the fleets now, and more specifically for the car that's offered as a benefit to managers, what have you, that several persons have mentioned that their next renovation of the fleet, they will be going to hybrids, and basically that's part of a drive to an ecological feeling, sustainability thing.
Yeah, I think
is that something that you see in the market?
And more hybrids, and maybe in the next year or two. And I don't know, the electrics are maybe in the next 3 years at least. I mean, you might be people, because of the price point is a little bit more expensive,
right?
And I think it would be maybe if you're like a taxi driver or you're like a person that drives a lot, you need to drive a lot every day. Like, I don't know, 250 kilometers a day or maybe 6,000 kilometers a month, then it's worth it. So, I mean, they're nice if you calculate the midterm, like we talked about last time, was the total cost of ownership. So they're expensive now, but if you drive a lot, it might be worth it. You just have to calculate the.
And for the cars, it's an operational car. You mentioned the Renault Zoe. That's sort of a size for many of these service companies here.
Yeah, I guess if you're a technician, or I guess even if you're a salesperson, you don't need. It's a basic car. I mean, it's just a nice car. It's a bit, it's not like an executive car or anything like that. But it's if you drive a lot, like if you're a technician that drives to many addresses, or if you're a salesperson, it might be a consideration. It's one of the most cost-effective ones. The only one that I found that's less than that as far as the price point was the Jack. And then the Zoes, they have a lot of Zoes at the what do you call the hydroelectric plant here in Brazil. They bought a fleet there at the
so there is interest in them for the operational car.
Yeah, I believe they might have the largest electric fleet in Brazil. I don't know, at the hydroelectric plant over there. They have a lot of Zoes. The nice blue Zoes, which I don't know. I talked to them there, and they didn't have the blue for sale. It was like a special order, but I think they had the basic colors.
Well, that's how it starts, huh? So
they said the basic colors.
There was interest, or is it people just looking, kicking the tires, looking in the window, and trying to figure out if it's electric or not?
Yeah, so I don't know. And then in the hybrids, so we have like now the plug-ins versus the regular hybrids. So I don't know if the people know the difference.
What is that? What is
so the plug-ins, you can plug it into an outlet and recharge it, whereas the the traditional hybrids, they just recharge on their own combustion engine.
Okay.
So
the Prius the Prius, I guess, is what you would call then a conventional.
Yeah. So the hybrid. Old ones, they had the Toyota Prius. In the States, they had the Volt, which never came to Brazil. And then you have, I think that one of the first ones in Brazil was the Fusion. Mm-hmm. So the plug-ins, you can plug it in, and like let's say you can plug it in. And I think depending on the car, maybe the first, let's say 40 kilometers or so can be like 100% electric.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine your work, it's not very far. You can just plug it in, just run on 100% electric for like 35 kilometers. Whereas if the conventional ones, you don't run on 100% electric.
Now, where do you see the drive coming from for the electric or the hybrids? What's driving this? Is it the novelty thing, or is there real interest by fleet owners? Where's it coming from? Is it the consumer that thinks this is nice to have? What's driving it in Brazil? What's making this change?
Driving the demand and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that? Uh-huh.
Where's this coming from? Where's the interest? You speak basically to the fleet owners, and we have the general public. We have companies that might be interested in having them.
Okay, so as far as where's it coming from, actually, it's interesting you asked me that because I spoke with, I wrote something with some results from a study by KMPG, mm-hmm. The consultancy company, international consultancy company,
right?
And basically, it seems like the general public is more excited about it than the executives. So. Because I guess it's an interesting thing, and it's electric cars. Depends on I guess your income and how much money you make. But I'd say that the executives within the industry are a little bit reluctant or a bit hesitant. I think because of they're thinking about the cost,
right?
The initial cost and the actually operational. If it will work with their company or not, as far as the range and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I think that I'd say, and then give it in about at least 3 years, maybe 5 at the most, the cost will start going down, and it'll be more cost effective. But for now, like we said, I guess would be the hybrid option. Mm-hmm. And so.
But you mentioned that you said what you felt from the pricing side, the Chinese versions that you had seen. Well, let's say they're reasonably priced. Mm-hmm. But in our previous interview in April, you also said China is one of the very heavy users in electrical vehicles today. There are a lot of electrical vehicles in China. So the technology and in the manufacture of the car, they have that. And we also mentioned buses, trucks. They're into that. They've already gone through the cost hurdle.
They're into that there. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know what the price of the cars are in China. Maybe they're more reasonable. But for sure they're more reasonable of all the brands here. It's just that they have to build their name because they're dealing with the big companies around the world.
Right.
Toyota, Ford, I don't know, Chevrolet, and We haven't talked about some of the other brands because I don't know, like I can just mention there's some other ones like Volvo. They're very, very nice cars. The price point is higher. They have some Volvo SUV XC60s and 90s, the Jaguar I-Pace, BMW, and stuff like that. I don't want to, because I work with cars. I don't want to mention. I need to mention all the brands, I guess.
No, but again, like you mentioned, the Europeans, their drive for electrical cars comes from sustainability. They have definite challenges to reduce pollution, what have you, the carbon imprint. So, and that's
they're a little bit more worried about the carbon footprint. Yeah. Right. Because they have some legislation too that's gonna push the fleets. They need to be cleaner. So Brazil's a little bit concerned about this, but not that much. I think it's more about cost, maybe operational efficiency, maybe, and then maybe a little bit about the environment. But this might change in the next few years.
Yeah, well, the fact that they're having these trade fairs and they're showing, and we have the launches, I take that as being a positive sign. And technology is technology. Once things start moving and changing in Europe or the States or Asia, sooner or later it's going to happen here, like it's happening right now. You'll see it'll slowly creep up, and where like everybody's going to, Volkswagen they announced that by 2023, so that's like in 4 years they're going to launch 6 electrified vehicles. So it's either hybrid or fully electric. So that's like 6 in 4 years. So nobody wants to be left out, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's a change in the business for the major manufacturers, but if they don't evolve, other companies are gonna come in, like Elon Musk from Tesla. So, and then there are other companies as well.
Well, that's
and a lot
true.
of
really high-profile companies that are successful and producing hundreds of thousands of vehicles. And again, every time you see the headlines, going further, the new technology in battery development and chargers, what have you, no? So it's a whole different
concept. The price of the batteries are going down. So the goal, I guess, is to get under $100 per kilowatt hour. So this will probably happen in the next few years, and then with the prices of the batteries going down, the price of the car will go down, and the technology is getting better. You can see that the kilometers,
back to what
the range.
You said, the total cost of ownership comes down.
Yeah, and then the economies of scale. Imagine if you produce 100,000 cars, but now you produce 1 million. I'm pretty sure they can produce it for a cheaper price. So that's our future, I guess. We have to.
Well, the last time we talked, also you mentioned we were talking about smart cities and smart cars. Are electrical and hybrid cars, are they smarter? Are they?
I guess.
Why are they different from?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what is smart. I guess smart is if you. I don't know what is smart. Yeah, define smart. I guess if they're cleaner for the environment, smart.
Oh, I don't know. I would think of onboard technology and when you talk about the Internet of Things and autonomous vehicles.
So that's you have connected vehicles. I don't know if that's exactly related to the electric vehicles. Before going on, there are some that are a little bit worried about. I don't know exactly on some programs in regards to battery disposal. But we need to make sure that we have ways to efficiently dispose of these batteries. I just want to make that point in the future. So these batteries, they last about, 8 years? So within the next 10 years, we need to find out, the industry needs to find out ways to dispose of these batteries in a sustainable and a clean way. So it's great that they're clean now, but we need to make sure that we know how we're going to dispose of these batteries. So. And I'm not too keen on what's happening with this, so I'll look into that later and figure out how to write an
another podcast.
Yeah, another podcast. So as far as the smart stuff, I think that's more related to other technologies. As far as autonomous vehicles, maybe connected vehicles, implementing telematics in your cars, and that goes hand in hand with the technology in the car, also with the actually city planners developing infrastructure within the city that will work hand in hand with the cars. I think autonomous cars is going to is going to make a lot of is going to change a lot of change our life a lot. Yeah.
And then that gets back to the electric, because the electric cars, from what I've seen, on all the models that I have seen, they're silent. There's no noise. You don't even
yeah. They actually had to. Some of them, they had to make noise.
Yeah.
So that they don't, because when you're a pedestrian and you're walking around, you kind of like listen for a car. If they're totally silent. Have you driven?
We were talking before we went on air. Motorcycles. They have motorcycles all over the place. You hear them, but the Prius, when I had it, there's absolutely no noise, nothing. Just even a button.
It's totally quiet. So
you really don't know it's working. So
you asked me earlier before our conversation, before you called me, about São Paulo. So as far as how does it affect São Paulo, maybe it might be a good idea for the people, the listeners, to know that specifically in São Paulo we have benefits. Do you hear that motorcycle?
Yeah. It's not electric.
In São Paulo, we have all these iFood, Uber Eats, Rappi, whatever. So all these it's another change that's taking place in São Paulo is the food delivery by apps. So there's another thing taking place over here. So what I was saying is, in São Paulo, at least we have, if you have an electric vehicle, you are exempt from what I remember, the last legislation, if it hasn't changed, from rodizio. So over here we have a restriction. If you have a particular license plate, you can't drive within the center of the middle part of the city.
Right.
But if you have an electric vehicle, you can drive any day. So if you don't have an electric vehicle, you have one day where you can't drive at a particular hour.
That's an advantage.
So that's a benefit. You're also on the IPVA, which is the vehicle tax. You get a 50% discount. So it's just a little bit. It helps a bit.
Well, these are some of the drivers. If we remember how many of these things started in California, in the United States, that it was that way.
They have a
tax benefit or some type of subsidy to get it going. Really, is to reduce pollution. But we're talking today. We're talking about the motorcycles, noise pollution, and you have that in São Paulo today. So if you could imagine all of the vehicles delivering your hamburger and your pizza, if they were silent, that would be a plus from São Paulo.
Yeah. São Paulo is
noisy.
Quite a at that show they had a lot, not only cars, they had electric bicycles, they had electric scooters, they had electric scooters, meaning the motorcycle scooters, and also the little scooters. I guess in English would be scooters and scooters. The other ones are called patinetes in Brazil. So they had all this electric stuff, and they had an electric unicycle, like it's a one wheel electric. And I tried it. It's difficult, but I tried it with a guy holding my hand, driving around in circles. It's a one wheel apparatus, I guess, and I've seen them here in Brooklyn, and they're electric powered.
Wow.
It's a bit difficult to learn, but I guess maybe after 2 or 3 days I'll start to get used to it. But I think I'll stick to cars and maybe
a car.
maybe a bicycle would be nice. They had a lot of electric bicycles there. It's pretty nice. And
to drive for electrical, so that's part of it. Really good.
Even the car manufacturers are some of them, from what I understand, I believe they come with a bicycle, like an electric bike, because they know that the electric bike and these other what you call last mile mobility options are going to start affecting the market, and they say, well, why don't I just, if you buy my car, it comes with a little electric bike on the side. I forgot.
No spare tire. Now you get a bike. You pedal.
Or something like that. So it comes with it.
Very good. Well, Daniel, I want to thank you. We're coming to the end of our time again, but
always
a treat to talk to you, and always a treat to see what's happening. We're talking about mobility. We're talking about the fleets. That's always something exciting to talk about, and we're looking forward to seeing more of your posts. And happy smile on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I post a lot there. I'm thinking that I'm bothering people, but I think they like it. I don't know. They said, no, Dad, we need to know we need to go what's happening.
Absolutely not. That's where personally I am. You could see by the number of likes that you get, number of followers that you have, that is always something interesting. So, and again, that shows that there's a drive to learn and to understand what's happening.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And I think
that's
what we're talking about. Where's the demand coming from? The people are interested in learning about this technology. It's changing. Part of what we need to understand, we say are the drivers, what's going to make it happen. Because when we talk about trends and we talk about innovation, things start and not necessarily people are aware of that. Then all of a sudden it comes as an avalanche. But things are happening. Things are changing.
Yeah. A lot of things are changing.
Like we were saying, well, this is not something for the distant future. It's real. The cars are being sold. They're on the streets. People are driving them. And I think that's important. So the technology is here. The innovation is here. And the future is here.
Yeah, certainly.
And Brazil's not behind the rest of the world.
No,
right?
Brazil's are creative. They like creative innovation and stuff like that. Especially here in São Paulo. So, yeah.
That's good. Okay, so thanks again. And we'll have you back in the future. We'll be talking some more, all right?
Okay, Tom, take care.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Until next time. And I'd also like to invite our guests and our listeners to visit our site, which is www.talktobrazil.com, where you'll find today's interview with Daniel Bland and links to his LinkedIn profile and his website, which is danielbland.com. You can also find this and our previous shows of Talk to Brazil on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Himalaya, CastBox, Google Podcasts, and many others. And thank you, our audience, and remind everyone that today's program was brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence. And Focus MI specializes in market research for the Brazilian agricultural market. More about them on their site, which is focusmi.com. Goodbye, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Tom Reaoch on Talk to Brazil, the business connector to Brazil.